Welcome to the Ask JT podcast, where we simplify tax, finance, and business decisions for UK business owners. I'm Justin Turner, an accountant, business owner, and author. I'm going to share practical advice and help you run your business more efficiently and keep more of what you earn. I'm going to show you the exact tools and automations I use in my business so you can steal them. Most small firms I work with waste hours setting up every new client by hand. They type the same details into about 5 different systems. They copy files here and there. They send emails, and then they'll make a few mistakes along the way. We used to do the same thing until I built one simple automation that cut it down to about 5 minutes work. I'm a systems accountant with a tech background, and over the last 10 years, I've helped businesses modernize their operations. Right now, AI is getting all the attention, but actually, automation has been kind of the quiet powerhouse in my firm for about 8 years. Automation can't misinterpret a task, can't actually make a mistake, and it doesn't need a prompt. It just works, even while you sleep. Yes, you might be saying, oh, agentic AI is coming. Yeah, sure, it is. But automation is probably still the safest fix in your business because it follows clear logic steps. So today, I'll show you how proper automation removes the boring admin that's basically slowing you down. The best part is you don't need to have any coding experience or expensive software. You just need that kind of smart links between tools that you're probably already using. So why does this matter? Well, let me explain. In another video, I talked about the 7 secrets of a sales engine. And one of those secrets is commitment and consistency. In plain terms, that's about doing the job or your task the same way every single time. So every new client gets the same smooth experience. And this is absolutely essential for customer service. And that's what's going to give you referrals for new clients. Let me take you back in time to about 8 years ago. In my accountancy firm, onboarding a new client was an absolute slog. We had to issue these things called letters of engagement. It's our version of a quote, basically. We had to collect ID and we had to give a clear price and we had to get this letter signed. It's all to do with our legal responsibilities. And once they had it signed, then the actual real work started. And that wasn't the accountancy work. That was the things like going into Xero to issue an invoice and setting someone up in our practice management software, setting them up in time tracking software, going to Google and setting up a folder for them. And then you've got to actually save all the onboarding paperwork. I mean, it was just unbelievable, the number of tasks that we actually had to do. And then we noticed other problems as well. A client would sign up, they'd ring the office, and the person who answered the phone had absolutely no idea who they were. And the client didn't really know who they were to speak to either. And if we just formed a brand new limited company for them as well, we always asked the same questions time and time again. And I think you're starting to see the issue. When you rely on people to follow lots of small steps, consistency fundamentally falls apart. Humans are brilliant at judgment, emotional connection, all of those sorts of things, but they're not actually great at doing the same task in the same order every single day. It's because it's boring. That's where automation becomes the magic ingredient. At the time, 8 years ago, it took about 30 minutes to onboard one client. Even adding a client to our time tracking system took 7 minutes just for that one task. That's not including the time it took us to draw up the letter of engagement. So in your business, you might be in one of 2 places at the moment. Firstly, you've got some software and it's not really talking very well to other systems, or you don't have any sort of dedicated systems at all. And yeah, 8 years ago, we were in the same place. We didn't have a dedicated software system. We created our letters of engagement in Word and we uploaded them to e-signature software, then manually started onboarding. There was no real defined processes. So at busy times, things got missed. It was stressful. Fundamentally, it was avoidable. Then I realized something. It was like a moment of clarity. Is New client admin is basically a tax on your time, and it's happening in most small businesses. People call it onboarding, but no matter what industry you're in, it's time. Today's episode's all about onboarding, and I'll record another video that digs into how to design a full onboarding system. So make sure you've hit subscribe if you want to see that one as well. My turning point came when we adopted the proposal software. That single change was game changing. We could keep clients in a proper database. We could manage price rises. We could send re-engagements, and we could handle digital signatures in one place. And once we had all of that, automation finally became possible. We chose a piece of software called Ignition for doing our proposals. And there's others like it. There's Go Proposal and Socket. And if you're in certain particular sectors, like if you're in the trades, for example, there is trade specific like Tradeify. Or if you're legal specific, there's things like Perfect Portal, which they're kind of doing the same tools, but they're more defined to your particular industry. But these tools are really, really powerful because they open the door to automation. And that's when I found a tool called Zapier. It promised to make systems that don't talk to each other. Zapier is basically it's like glue for software, and it's gluing all these different bits of software together. And how it works is it watches for a trigger in one particular software tool, and then it runs actions in others. So if a client accepts a proposal, well, it actually creates them in the practice management software, builds our folders in Google Drive, it starts welcome emails, and it even sets up our time tracking software. Basically, it turns messy admin into a smooth chain. Every week, Zapier sends me a little email and it tells me how many tasks it's completed automatically for that week. And I remember this one week, I got that email and it said he'd automated 360 tasks. Plus, I knew, because I'd had MailChimp as well email me to say that we'd sent out 40 targeted educational emails. I mean, absolutely amazing. 400 actions done without a human lifting a finger. And that's when I knew I'd absolutely cracked it. Each automation is called a Zap. There's another provider out there that I'm sort of familiar called Make, which works in much the same way. But I'm more familiar with Zapier, which is why I'm really focusing on that. Now, when a client accepts a proposal in Ignition, Zapier does the rest. It creates the client automatically in Carbon, which is our practice management software. It builds their folders in Google Drive. It starts a MailChimp welcome sequence. It sets up our time tracking software in Harvest, and it sends a Slack channel message, which is our internal chat system. So it prevents that anonymity for the client in the future. And the bonus is it does all of this in about 1 minute. So why not use AI instead? Well, because automation is the perfect tool for repeatable steps. I know exactly how our file structure works, where a client folder should be created. I know which emails they should get and what they should say and where they should book their first meeting. Nothing about that process changes. Automation wins every single time because the process is identical every single time. There's another reason as well, is you need to build Zaps before you hit demand. I built ours when we were onboarding one client every few weeks. Then 1 week we won 6 clients, and I was completely and utterly smug about it because the Zaps ran the entire onboarding flow, just happened as if by magic, and there was zero stress involved at all. So is this easy? Well, yes and no. It's easy to build a basic Zap with a trigger and 1 or 2 steps in it. So, for example, a client signs a proposal, we get it to detect that action happening. It's what's called the trigger. And then we maybe add them onto a MailChimp list, and then MailChimp runs its own automations. Even adding a Slack channel message or a Slack message is relatively simple. And this is where I always tell people to start. Where it gets more complex is when you start moving data between steps. You need to accept that difficulty is going to rise the more steps that you add in. A Zap will move from one step to the next in a fraction of seconds as well. So to create a new client in our time tracking software, I have to create the client, wait 60 seconds. So I'm telling the Zap to kind of, whoa, hang on a minute. Can you wait for 60 seconds? Then I look for it and find the client, and then I add the project tracking. So just to give you an idea about complexity, our onboarding, at the end of its journey, it's even able to detect whether someone's an individual or a company client, because what needs to happen at that stage actually differs. And the Zap is actually capable of detecting that sort of logic and taking the right actions depending on what type of client it is as well. You're fundamentally only limited by your own creativity. The other day, I wanted to create a Zap to detect if a video was under 60 seconds and then stop the Zap at that stage. The problem is I've integrated into YouTube, and YouTube doesn't give clean duration data for a video. So I asked Zapier to run some JavaScript, and it calculated the number of seconds for me. By the way, it's a long time since I've written any code, and I don't actually know how to write JavaScript. So maybe I'll tell you how I did that in another video another day, but that's maybe a longer conversation. If you're interested in modernizing your business with the things that I'm talking about here today, maybe think about applying for a Modernisation Diagnostic and working with me on a one-to-one basis. And you can go off and do that on my site, which is askjt.co.uk. If you want to see the exact Zap I use, I've put together a full step-by-step guide. It includes kind of a full map, every action that is taken in my Zap, and I've got a clear explanation. It's about a 10-page PDF that you can download. So if you want that, go to askjt.co.uk/Zap, and the details are in the description. Thanks for listening to the Ask JT podcast. Subscribe for a weekly episode, and if you found this useful, share it with a fellow business owner who might benefit.